How does it get more perfect than that episode that we just watched? How does Invincible stay so good after all this time? My mind is still being blown by this show. How is it possible? We're on season 3, guys. Welcome back, everybody. Hello, my name's Amanda. You might know me as Vamp. Today we're going to be breaking down Invincible episode 4. I'm going to talk a little bit about what happens in it. I'm going to talk a little bit about my thoughts and kind of where I think this show is going, but also just why I think this show is so different from everything else in the superhero genre right now. Okay, so before we get into my thoughts on the episode, let me just give you a little summary for those of you that maybe need a refresher, or maybe you're not watching the show and this is the way that you are consuming it. Which, to that I would say, please go watch the show. It's so good. Don't do it this way. But I'll update for you anyways, if that is you. So basically, we start off this episode and Mark is following up on the spyware that he found at the end of the last episode. He doesn't learn much about it. He just learns that it's from Earth. That's all he knows. Mark and Eve end up going on a date, which is interrupted when Mark is spirited away to the future to help the characters that stole the Declaration of Independence, help them with their problems in the future, which is basically, turns out there's an evil King Immortal who has been driven insane by ruling Earth for hundreds of years that Mark has to face. He gets back to Eve and they resume their date, and it's a really sweet date. In the end, they also end up confessing their love for each other. So cute. Meanwhile, in space, Alan the alien is about to go on a daring escape and finally break out of the prison, and on the brink of his execution, Nolan, Omni-Man, finally decides that he's going to join Alan in his fight against the Viltrumites. Also, Battle Beast is there. He's in the prison break, but he gets lost when the scuffle sort of breaks out into the vacuum of space. So we don't know where Battle Beast is, but he's somewhere in space. Nolan reveals to Alan as well at the end of this episode something very important, which is that there is only 50 pure blood Viltrumites left. And that is how Nolan knows that they can beat them. Oh, spicy. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to talk about here. We're going to start with the focus on Mark and Eve's relationship in this episode. It was so good. Their date where they're just going around and looking at the sights, and we get these flashbacks to them being there for each other. It made me cry. I'm thinking about it right now and I want to cry. I just love how much these two fit together, and I love that we're finally getting to see the culmination of two people that really believed in each other and supported each other and were constantly there for each other, finally getting to see that evolve into a romantic relationship. And it's just got such a strong foundation, which is what I love about it. Something that I really love about Invincible in general, I've said this before, I'll say it for the millionth time, I really love the way that it approaches relationships. I think the show and the comic at times also does this in a way that is just so mature. It explores relationships in a very grounded way and also is not afraid to explore character growth through relationships. I mean, wow. If you want to take relationship advice from a show, I feel like right now Invincible's a pretty good one, because it actually deals with real problems that happen in relationships and how best to overcome those. I mean, communication being a key thing, being honest with your partner, something that we see here. It's basically the opposite of like every other superhero comic book relationship that you'll get, which tends to be focused obviously on a lot of melodrama. So there's a lot of miscommunication and a lot of things that are not done well, and yet people still end up in relationships with people that maybe they shouldn't be. Sometimes I question. And so I think Invincible just has an emotional maturity when it approaches these kinds of relationships that I love to see. I love to see that representation. It's a good role model for people watching. I wonder what kind of relationship will actually be cooking up between Rex and Ray. Rex and Ray actually open this episode, and what happens at the beginning is that Ray wants to cook dinner for the team and is going grocery shopping, and Rex is kind of just there. He's not really invested in this idea of cooking dinner, wants to order pizza, but ultimately he sees that it's really important to Ray and he commits to the idea of helping her with her grocery shopping, only for them to unfortunately be interrupted by a villain that they have to fight, and so then they do end up ordering pizza anyways. A little bit of humor there, but I just feel like we've all been talking about this idea of Rex and Ray, like Are they going to be a couple? What's happening with that? And I think this episode is really building some of that as well. Just seeing Rex make that shift from kind of being a goofball and kind of being a bit of a jerk sometimes to seeing how important this is to Ray and just wanting to help because he just likes Ray. Really sweet, honestly. Speaking of just great relationships, though, that are cooking, one that's really cooking in this episode is the bromance between Alan and Nolan. And knowing where this goes in the comic and just getting to see this blossom here, I'm very excited to watch where this goes in the show based on my knowledge of it from the comics. I'm not going to say, I don't want to spoil anything for anybody, but just, we're in for a fun ride. We're in for a fun ride and I can't wait. Honestly, something that I really love about this episode between, you know, the stuff with Mark and the stuff with Nolan and Alan is that the pacing is just perfect. There's so much also that happens in this episode, and yet it never feels like it's too much. It never feels like I'm bored. It's just perfect. It's just the whole time I'm engaged throughout. And it's something that I think about now where I feel we have become a bit complacent as an audience with just the bare minimum of entertainment, where something has my attention because I'm choosing to give it my attention, not because it's captivating me. And this show is truly captivating, and I can't believe that in season 3 I still find it as captivating as season 1. Something that I wasn't actually as familiar with in this episode was Mark's trip to the future. I know a lot of things about Invincible, a lot of plot points. I haven't read it like issue by issue, but I've gone through a lot of it. And this was something that I either forgot about or that maybe I just haven't read in depth yet. And I was really enjoying it because I also just didn't really know where it was going to go. And I was curious to see what was happening with that. So I'm very excited as well to go back in the comics and read through that and see the differences and what they kind of changed in the show with it. I think that is another thing that I love about this show is that it really makes me want to read Invincible. And I love just stories that I get to watch that make me want to read. I love when things make me want to read. I love to read. This show is one that also deals with the multiverse. Clearly, this episode, we're dealing with some of it. And the thing that I'm enjoying about it is the multiverse has kind of just been bleeding in like more and more as we go ever since last season when the concept was kind of introduced to us. And multiverse is obviously everywhere right now. It's super hot. It's so hot right now. Multiverse, so hot. But I feel like Invincible is going to be the property that actually does it best. Because what I see when Invincible approaches it in the show is that they're really using the multiverse concept as a way for us to reflect on the main characters and for the main characters to reflect on themselves. So we're not just using multiverse as kind of a scapegoat or, you know, something to just get lost in the sauce and be like, look at this weird version of Invincible. Look at this weird version of Rexplode. Whoa. We're using it as a way to explore who these characters really are. So it feels really meaningful because it's not just multiverse for the sake of multiverse. It's kind of multiverse as a mirror to our characters and allowing them to explore what they really want in life, what is really important to them. And it also can be a very crazy threat. It can provide a real threat to our heroes as well. So it feels intense, menacing, grounded, and like it's just building towards the development of everything else in the main continuity, which I don't know how you do it better than that, honestly. And I feel like multiverse lately, people are tired of it, but it's not really multiverse that we're tired of. We're just tired of people giving us an approach that feels so surface level. Something that I really love about Invincible is it never feels like it's just here. There's always so much going on. There's so many layers to it. And this is another episode that just showcases all of that with what it's doing with the multiverse and beyond, clearly. My overall rating for the episode, it's a 5 out of 5. I mean, I kind of want to give it a 6 out of 5, to be honest. It is perfect. It is beyond perfect. It is excellent. It is so good. I really loved this episode. I can't wait for the next one. Let me know what you're thinking of it. Let me know how you're feeling about the adaptation if you have read the comics, and kind of what you're excited to see. Where do you think we're going next? Do you guys still want me to do that video where I talk about where I think we're going next? Because I got some thoughts based on my knowledge of the comics. I know some of you said you wanted that, so if you still want that, let me know, and I will try to put something together for you guys. Thank you so much for watching this video and all that you do. I really appreciate you, and I hope you are enjoying Invincible as much as I am. I'll see you next time, friends. Until then, stay nerdy. And also, if you missed my other Invincible stuff, check it out. Bye!